Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's gonna be negativeZero, currently the top ranked bot on the sc2ai.net ladder, and taking it on is gonna be none other than Sharkbot. One of the most entertaining to watch bots out there, let alone Protoss bots. Very underrated in my opinion. And so we've got a bit of a rematch here today on Automaton. I recently cast a PvP between these two, and I do enjoy watching rematches in these bot games because no two games are the same, which is always a surprising thing when you consider the fact that the code is the same, but the results tend to change up quite a bit. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this video, make sure to go ahead and click that like button. If we can get one like for every APM from Sharkbot right now, spam clicking that probe, that would be great. Very fluid movement. It looks a little unnatural, almost. Does that probe. That is what 10,000 APM on a probe looks like, just about. Anyway, yeah, leave a like on the video and a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. It goes a long way to helping with engagement, so we can battle the YouTube bot that is the algorithm. Or just type absolute gibberish in the comments, it helps. Let me know what you're watching on Netflix or whatever, or whether you canceled Netflix because prices go up every 6 months. And then, yeah, subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. I put out daily bot videos. I also have a second channel on the go, which I really recommend you guys check out. If you enjoy this commentary, I can pretty much guarantee that you'll enjoy commentary on all sorts of other StarCraft videos. And then, yeah, also, big thanks to everyone that does support the channel via the YouTube membership program. Links for that are in the description down below. But enough with that spiel, on with the show, as we've got Sharkbot going for a double Adept Stargate, whereas negativeZero is going for a Robo double gate opening. Expanding in PvP is a very risky endeavor, so this probe for Sharkbot just continues its job of going in a circle. Sharkbot says, "I haven't seen your second base, negativeZero. What are you doing?" As the pot calls the kettle black, seeing as how Sharkbot does not have its own expansion. And yeah, 2 Adepts moving out for Sharkbot, whereas negativeZero just producing Stalkers. A hallucinated Phoenix goes out for the Protoss bot, which is cool to see. And yeah, I do believe both these bots have been updated since I previously cast a match between them. So who knows, maybe they've had specific tweaks to address this matchup and all the happenings. Maybe not, as sometimes updates are targeted at very specific things against, say, specific opponents. So negativeZero, we'll see how it's going to handle these Adepts that get into its main base, and the answer is, unfortunately, not very well, as Sharkbot completes the shade with 2 Adepts into the main base of negativeZero. There's behavior to build a pylon, but oh no, negativeZero is being walled out of its own base. This Immortal and the Stalker are trying to defend the probes, but that is a lot of lost mining time for the red Protoss bot. Stalkers almost get the Oracle. That would be big. The Adepts are being worked on for now. At least one of them does go down, so that is a big reduction in the damage that the Adepts will get done, but they are still doing work. negativeZero completed the wall, but its defensive behavior is lacking a little bit right now, and that's the difficult thing as a bot author. Where do you position your units to defend? I think I'm gonna suggest a slight tweak that could be made to Sharkbot potentially, or any Protoss bot. If you're a bot author, because like we just saw, it was very quick, but like Sharkbot only lost that Adept because it ran at negativeZero's units. If your Adepts are in your opponent's mineral line and there's no enemy units near them, just park them, please. I think that there's potential, like, bots units are always moving, they're always taking commands, but for example, like, negativeZero was not reacting to the Adepts in its mineral line. If Sharkbot had just held those Adepts there, I mean, maybe it would have just won the game, because negativeZero might not have actually ever sent a unit back to respond to that. We've got negativeZero saying timeout fail, 5 minutes. I wonder if that says kill the shield battery, and yes it does, so it's gonna walk onto the battery before shooting it. The Immortals notably do not help out with that, which is interesting, as there is now a battery in the main for negativeZero to help defend against this. However, its expansion, or any potential expansion, is late. Sharkbot does have its own on the way now, as the blue Protoss bot goes into Phoenix with this Stargate. negativeZero has the Prism on the way. The Oracle comes in to harass, but the battery is worth its weight in gold. A few probes for negativeZero are just twirling as they were trying to run away from that Oracle. So we'll see if negativeZero is going to get aggressive against Sharkbot in this situation, or whether it will just throw up its own expansion. I mean, negativeZero has fantastic army control. It's got 2 Immortals out, which are no joke. So the red Protoss bot is maybe moving out. Looks like it's being kept quite occupied by that Oracle, which has no energy now hovering above the base. The probes are avoiding it, but it doesn't really have energy to threaten them. So Stalker gets warped in to deal with this. This Oracle for Sharkbot is really keeping negativeZero back, but at least there is a Nexus thrown down by the red Protoss bot. So about a minute behind. It's not the end of the world. It's definitely not great for the top Protoss bot. Yeah, Sharkbot's Oracles seem to be quite good in this day and age, just constantly going in, constantly going out. And then we have got negativeZero saying it's a little bit supply blocked, but it doesn't seem to be anymore. And the 2 Immortals, looks like they went on a bit of a journey. Hallucinated Phoenix for negativeZero. I really do love that behavior. Look at this, Sharkbot's Phoenix are treating this Phoenix as if it was real, because there's no way in the bot API to tell if a unit is a hallucination or not. So either way, if that was just one Phoenix, it would have been good for Sharkbot to attack that, but I guess maybe he was worried maybe there would be more Phoenix or something like that. Anyway, Sharkbot continues to spam click its Phoenix, and I wonder why the replay always crashes if I ever try and fast forward or rewind at speed through a Sharkbot replay. It's because of this right here. Thanks, Sharkbot. And yeah, let's see here, as we've got negativeZero still building up its army, getting up a Twilight Council. Sharkbot goes for a second Stargate, as the Oracle is still a nuisance. That Oracle may be a menace up until negativeZero potentially gets blink on its Stalkers, although it might not even blink after the Oracle. I'm not sure if that is in the behavior or not. The Oracle keeps coming in, shoots like a probe. It's only got 2 kills. I mean, all the damage that negativeZero took early on was from those initial 2 Adepts, the lost mining time notably. A cool, actually, metric that would be very good to add to Starcraft 2 would be a resources mined metric. I'm going to put that in my little TXT. 1 second. That would be good. Okay, it's in the TXT. I've got a little wish list going on for things that I think would be very beneficial to StarCraft as a whole. If it was ever to receive updates, or if there is ever a StarCraft 3. Which, who knows, maybe will happen. We'll probably all be a little bit older by the time that happens. But anyway, Phoenix do come in for Sharkbot saying, as they lift up some probes. Stalker comes in, but the Phoenix wisely are not just being chased away by a single Stalker. So massive economic damage does get done by the blue Protoss bot. Lots of Stargates, or another Stargate on the way, so going up to 3. Sharkbot has got its own 3rd on the way. negativeZero did at least build the 3rd, and is actually taking the gold, which is a very cool feature on Automaton. And let's see, blink is on the way for negativeZero. It does at least have Stalkers trying to respond to that Oracle again. It's got a whopping 4 Immortals. These Immortals do need to stay safe and stay alive, as if they potentially get picked off or something out on the map, that would be, well, just disastrous. And Sharkbot is coming forward with these Phoenix. The Immortals and Adepts are crossing the map. Oh dear. This could be very, very bad for negativeZero. The Immortals and Adepts are looking to poke up this ramp. It's 4 Immortals versus like 19 Stalkers. This is not good for the red Protoss bot going for this fight. And yeah, let's see. The Immortals are trying to retreat. However, they do get lifted up. That is not ideal. One of them dies at least. I mean, one isn't the end of the world, but it's definitely not great when you're down in economy compared to your opponent. The gold base definitely will help negativeZero potentially come back in this economically. It does lose a Stalker. The Phoenix control of Sharkbot really is something. Stalkers are trying to blink after the Phoenix, and they do actually get one, so that's cool to see. Sharkbot says, I see that. I think in response, we do have Stalker's recall on top of this Oracle. Do they blink after it? They are on cooldown, unfortunately. negativeZero is moving out onto the map. Stalker's engaging Phoenix. The red Protoss bot is kind of splitting up its army, which is definitely risky against a mass Phoenix composition. The Immortals are not helping out, as the Stalkers were just out there to deal with the Phoenix, but many lifts are going down. And once again, things seem to be going a little bit rough for negativeZero. 2 Stalkers are in the mineral line, as probes are actually electrifying, tasing, photon beaming those Stalkers, as they can, in theory, just keep moving forever and try and blink away from those of Sharkbot. Sharkbot doesn't have blink, however, that Stalker does go down. We do have negativeZero trying to poke the front once again, but it is a rather risky move, seeing as how it's only fighting with a fraction of its army. All of its anti-air for the most part, or a good chunk of it, but that still costs negativeZero quite a bit. Income-wise, the red Protoss is ahead, though, thanks to that gold base. At least as far as minerals are concerned, it is behind a great deal when we look at gas. negativeZero is just taking its 3rd gas in this game, which it's quite impressive that negativeZero has built all this just off of 2 gases. As the red Protoss bot is still building up its army, the Oracle still continues to cause problems. Shield battery coverage, unfortunately we can't see the actual outline of those, but I'm willing to bet that it covers most of this. Stalkers do actually blink after the Oracle and eventually kill it. That's cool to see. negativeZero has got +2 attack on the way, whereas Sharkbot is now going into carriers and a Nexus. And as per the previous game that I cast, negativeZero did have a difficult time dealing with carriers. So we'll see if this one's going to be any different. That Stalker can get out of there, right? Yes, it can. Good to see. And so Mothership, multiple carriers on the way. Sharkbot is just building up on 4 bases. negativeZero is enjoying the gold income, but it's going to have to do something else to come back in this game, and it seems content just to try and build up a big Stalker army. And there is a potential timing for negativeZero in which that it can make an attack happen. It's going to have +2 attack, whereas Sharkbot is only getting upgrades really for its air army. It is getting shields, which will help out a little bit, but not as significant as like +2 that negativeZero is going to have. So we'll see if the red Protoss can potentially hit a bit of a timing in this match. If not, I am going to be a little worried, because negativeZero, while it's a very good general bot, it is not as specialized for the late game as Sharkbot is. And so, yeah, things could be a little bit rough. Phoenix, hallucinated Phoenix, is being chased down by some Stalkers. negativeZero does start its own Stargate, so maybe it's going to go into those Tempests that we've seen previously. A 4th is on the way for the red Protoss bot. And this game has been fairly passive for the most part, so I really would love to see these bots pick up their expanding pace. Sharkbot does have that 5th, the gold on the way, which is important. negativeZero, meanwhile, making more Immortals, making Stalkers on the way. The Immortals definitely will not be helpful past a certain point once the carrier count reaches critical mass for Sharkbot. Sharkbot is now maxed out as well, so it may feel like it wants to push out. Interestingly enough, Cloak did get popped by Sharkbot, maybe like a hallucination or an Adept Shade prompted Sharkbot to use that. We do have Stalkers moving forward right now. I mean, those interceptors are being sent out. That big cloak by the Mothership is a thing. Stalkers are wandering forward. There's a stasis ward on the ground for Sharkbot. However, I mean, this is a way bigger army right now for negativeZero compared to what Sharkbot has. The Stalkers just need to be confident enough to take the engagement, but for now they are having a difficult time with this. One Stalker blinks after the Mothership, trying to shoot at it. Yeah, negativeZero does seem to be having a difficult time taking this engagement, and yeah, that is really benefiting Sharkbot. negativeZero just fanning its army out and around this whole Protoss force as it's getting whittled down by the interceptors. It's not even shooting the interceptors, which is never a great thing to shoot interceptors, really, but not shooting them and taking damage from them is definitely worse, so the red Protoss bot is losing lots of units here. And yeah, now we've got a Tempest out for Sharkbot. -0 is going into its own Tempest. Battery overcharge, keeping some of these buildings alive against the mass carriers. But yeah, -0 just doesn't seem programmed to take on such a death ball as this. The Stalkers are waiting for the perfect engagement, but it seems like it's not going to be coming anytime soon. The Tempest are being produced 2 at a time for -0. There is a recall. What's coming? It looks like it was a Stalker and a Sentry that immediately die, unfortunately. -0 isn't counterattacking or anything else, which really is one of its strengths. And if we look at the vision of the red Protoss right now, it is kind of just being bullied quite a bit. Losing mining at the gold base definitely hurts. Tempest are out for -0 to begin shooting at the blue Protoss's army. Still, the red Protoss has lost massive amounts of resources, massive amounts of Stalkers for basically nothing. And yeah, I was kind of on the fence about casting this game because I had previously cast a game that was on the same map that had well, I kind of assumed it would be a fairly similar result, just -0 having a difficult time with this. Stalkers are underneath the Phoenix shooting at them, however that Tempest dying definitely hurts. -0 builds its own Phoenix, which isn't great. I think the Tempest probably are the better way to go. The Protoss bot does at least have, the red Protoss bot, pardon me, does at least have a new 5th on the way, but it's massively down in supply. And yeah, Sharkbot is just doing very well. The Stalkers for -0, like they're keeping tabs, but they're unsure of how to take this engagement, understandably so. We'll see, maybe -0 can build up to a massive Tempest army, something like that. That would be the only way I see it potentially winning this game. So we'll see if Sharkbot gives it enough time to do that. Stalkers blink into a stasis, that's quite unfortunate. Revelation does get dropped on the army of Sharkbot, but it's already up to 6 carriers and 16 Phoenix still, so that is just a god tier air armada. And yeah, Sharkbot now starting to invest in its cannons and batteries out in the middle of the map as it likes to do. The Stalkers are doing a good job keeping sort of tabs on the army of Sharkbot, but we're seeing some of them die and they're not really getting anything done. So yeah, we're just going to have to watch. Maybe the Tempest count can build up enough for -0 to make something happen. If it can hit, like, probably like 10 Tempest, if I had to guess. And then depending on the micro interactions, maybe there's a chance for the red Protoss. So you're telling me there's a chance? I'm telling you there's a slight chance here. As, yeah, -0, though, does unfortunately keep building those Immortals. A Stalker is actually caught, pardon me, for not noticing that. That might have happened in the previous game as well. That's the thing with casting similar bot matches. They do look fairly similar sometimes. So I'm like, did I already cast this game? I have to make sure. It's a long -0 versus Sharkbot match. It's like, no, it's a different one. They're just having similar interactions, and we're going to see if the result is any different. There is 4 Tempest out for -0. That's a significant amount. There is also the Oracle, so revelations on this army would definitely be big. We've now got to zoom out all the way to see this, but the Tempest are even afraid of getting far enough into attack range of Sharkbot. There's some Tempest shots going down on the mothership. If that dies, that would potentially be big. As, okay, more Tempest shots going down. -0 does at least have +2 attack. That mothership gets very far forward. The Tempest not shooting on it, though. As, there we go, getting another shot off. The mothership stays alive. We're looking through -0's vision right now as it just sort of circles. This is what a bot sees, ladies and gentlemen. Like, a lot of bots operate just on having minimum vision, keeping as far away from their opponents. So while it does look a bit silly at times, -0, like backing away from its opponent, there isn't, there's a reason for that, and that's just because it's operating on its range of vision. That's why those, say, oracles with the revelations are huge. We gotta keep eyes on whether these Stalkers all get caught and killed, though, as they definitely are a little far forward right now. The mothership, I believe, did go down. Indeed, it did. So Sharkbot is trying to make something happen. It's losing lots of Phoenix underneath these Stalkers. The carriers will absolutely destroy the Stalkers, but then they wisely run away. Tempest are going down for -0 as it's knocked down to 2. It's building 2 more at least. So I'll say this game isn't going as bad as the previous one. Prism getting caught by the Stalkers, has a revelation dropped on it, keeps going back and forth getting healed. It may die. Yes, it does, so that's a nice pickoff for negativeZero. Still resources lost massively in favor of Sharkbot. Well, I say massively. It's significantly ahead for Sharkbot. It's about 9,000 resources right now. Sharkbot does have its own Tempest out, but just one. The Phoenix are doing a surprisingly good job of picking off the Phoenix of negativeZero, though. Sharkbot is actually replacing its Phoenix as well, which is unfortunate because it means that those Phoenix are potentially just going to keep killing the Tempest. negativeZero does at least have its third base, or its third Stargate up, so it can keep producing more Tempest. We've got Sharkbot looking to kill off a base of negativeZero. That could definitely be a big blow to the red Protoss. It is getting some shots off with its own Tempest. Where's that Oracle? That's the question for negativeZero. It is lurking around, so we'll see if there's going to be a good revelation eventually. As, I mean, Revelation is a relatively cheap spell, so we'll keep eyes on that Oracle. negativeZero is up to 5 Tempest once again. This game is looking a lot better for negativeZero than the previous one. Is it looking good? Absolutely not. Is it looking better? Absolutely. And yeah, let's see. Tempest are moving forward. That is a dead observer, I believe. And Tempest versus... If there's enough Tempest, enough on the ground for negativeZero, there's a chance that it can whittle down this army of Sharkbot, which would be a very impressive, different result. Sharkbot's blob does just keep moving around, though, continuously picking off bases for negativeZero, which definitely hurts the red Protoss bot. The Tempest really are running away as far as they can. They pick off the Tempest of their opponent, but look at this. Now the Phoenix are pouncing, and looks like these Tempest are in a lot of trouble. Will they retreat to a battery successfully? It looks like there is that battery. No overcharge in time, as the battery hadn't quite finished. And these Tempest are getting some shots off. They do actually kill a carrier, so nicely done. That is the first carrier to go down for Sharkbot. negativeZero is fighting out as hard as it can, and it's working away on the Oracles. Killing enemy Oracles is important. The Phoenix of Sharkbot continue to be the big threat. Tempest are just so weak in this day and age that it's like, yep, Phoenix roll up, Tempest die. Not much that can be done about that. negativeZero is now going to lose another base, it appears, and that's wildly unfortunate. Upgrades are continuing to roll for negativeZero. Sharkbot's pretty much maxed on its army and the upgrades that it really wants, but negativeZero, its situation may improve as time goes on. That resources loss gap, 10,000, still staying relatively the same. There's double Nexus going up for negativeZero. That's quite important, as it does need all that money, namely the gas, in order to keep the mining going. Lots of probes dying in the bottom right as Sharkbot hunts these units down with its blob. The cannon battery line for Sharkbot does continue to push forward. However, this is a big money sink for the blue Protoss, and if negativeZero can just kill all these off, that is a lot of lost resources for Sharkbot, and that is a big money sink. negativeZero kind of ignoring that, moving towards the north for some reason, I guess just wanting to group up its army. There is triple Tempest production still going on. The one supervisor stalker continues to watch these Stargates work, and yeah, this game is way, way closer than the one I previously cast. Sharkbot still maintains a commanding lead with its killer fleet. However, negativeZero, like, it's getting air armor. That's going to help the Tempest out massively. Sharkbot is now getting attacked in the upper left by a hit squad of negativeZero. Great battery usage by both of these bots. The battery overcharges are cool. negativeZero has its own Phoenix, getting some vengeance on Sharkbot. Sharkbot, though, is now pushing towards the main base of negativeZero. If those Stargates die, that would be hugely problematic. The Tempest are kind of fanning out against this. Where's the Oracle? There was a revelation that did get dropped. I'm not sure there was a connection or not. We can look through negativeZero's vision to see. It's having a hard time taking on this air armada. The cloak is definitely very strong. A Tempest does get pounced on. Phoenix are dying for Sharkbot in this engagement, though. Just the fanning out of negativeZero is ridiculous. I'm max zoomed out, and I'm having a hard time keeping tabs on this army. Stalkers retreating endlessly. Tempest firing away. Sharkbot is kind of just grouping up, and by not building enough of its own Tempest, it is getting picked off a little bit. Stalkers trying to save their Tempest friends unsuccessfully. negativeZero makes 2 Immortals upon losing 2 Tempest. That's what I mean by negativeZero's army composition not being the most specialized to deal with this, and that's because it actually lost the Fleet Beacon, pardon me. So Sharkbot did get a successful pickoff in the main, and that could have huge ramifications for this game later on, as the Tempest are everything for negativeZero, and now they are all just about to die. That is the last one going down. So Sharkbot is now pushing on into negativeZero's side of the map. We are seeing a single Stalker shoot this Nexus. I get a feeling it's going to be saved, though. This battery will probably just recharge to keep that alive. The ground army of negativeZero is quite the wrecking ball, though, killing off lots of this static defense. Resources lost, though, are massively in favor for Sharkbot, and I think we can say that at this point. It's now 14,000 resources lost ahead of its opponent. And, yeah, let's see. +2 armor is on the way for negativeZero for those Tempest. Now production on those has resumed. I'm not sure the red toss has the economy it needs in order to sustain this. Sharkbot is mining from bases that are rightfully negativeZero's, and negativeZero just continues to be bullied a little bit by Sharkbot. The Tempest being rebuilt is big. Look at this, cannons and batteries dying. That's probably a massive chunk of Sharkbot's resources lost. negativeZero has lost 25 Tempest in this game, 85 Stalkers, 8 Immortals, where Sharkbot has lost Phoenix, High Templar probes, cannons, batteries in exchange, but that definitely doesn't add up to be good for negativeZero. I do love that it is rebuilding those Tempest. It's quite important. Phoenix are harassing Sharkbot a little bit, forcing Sharkbot to build probes, which I mean is always a good thing if your opponent's spending money on that. If these bot games have taught us anything, it's that a lot of worker deaths can actually add up in overall resources lost. We're seeing a Prism get hunted down that had a sentry in it, I believe. Lots of this static defense is being cleaned out. negativeZero is maxed out once again. Building 3 Tempest at a time, so going to have like 5 or so. The armor upgrades will definitely help out against this force of Sharkbot. And look at this, negativeZero is wasting no time right now. It is pushing in, as Sharkbot got kind of distracted trying to save its base in the upper left, it appears. We're now seeing Tectonic Destabilizers get added in for negativeZero. So we're 26 minutes in this game. Upgrades are still happening, compositions are still improving. And so, ladies and gentlemen, click that like button if you haven't already and you're still watching into this game. I was honestly very skeptical casting this match. I thought, oh, is it just going to be a repeat of Sharkbot eventually winning out like the previous one? This one is way closer. negativeZero is going to lose another critical base. It's trying to respond to this aggression, which means it will have a head-on confrontation with this army of Sharkbot, which is a little bit concerning. More oracles are being added in as this game goes on. Their revelation is quite important. negativeZero is actually just mainly pushing, not responding to this attack, so Sharkbot loses more and more static defense. negativeZero's aggressive micro is quite impressive. It is also microing a probe with this army, with this Prism, which is interesting. I can only assume it wants to mine these resources. We're having a bit of a hit squad hit Sharkbot's base down here, and now Sharkbot is expanding to the base of negativeZero, which is a little bit of an ambitious steal, dare I say. The army of Sharkbot, though, it's constantly out of position at the minute as it's just trying to hunt down these Stalkers, it seems, which keep on moving. And it is, yeah, so this is a problem that Sharkbot sometimes has, which it does get caught out of position. negativeZero takes some mineral patches, which will barely cover the expense of the Nexus. And negativeZero does clean this base in the upper right. So Sharkbot's economy is really dropping right now, so it may not be able to keep up with its high expense, notably losing lots of probes right now. The total probes lost for Sharkbot are 168, so that will eat through its mineral bank quite quickly. However, I mean, the death ball is still present, and that will eventually need to be addressed. I think a very important thing in this game will be if negativeZero secures up this expansion to the south. Taking this gold is quite unfortunate. I wonder if it took it as it prioritizes gold bases over a more fresh location to the south. negativeZero is trying to rebuild static defense. Sharkbot's Wrecking Ball is coming on in. The Tempest count is presently 6 against the Phoenix count of 18, which isn't quite as high as it used to be. negativeZero may be looking for the big fight. I'm still not entirely confident it can do this, though, as I mean, Sharkbot just has this monstrous army. We'll see if the mothership gets picked off or not. That would definitely be big. The Tempest are just fanning in and out. However, look at this. There go the Phoenix attacking the Tempest of negativeZero, which are weak and vulnerable by themselves Tempest are moving forward. They do almost kill off the mothership. That is the prize presently. However, another Tempest goes down. negativeZero can't quite afford to replace those. The mothership is gone, but look at this. Now in go the Phoenix, but they're a little bit afraid. There's enough Tempest supply there to give Sharkbot pause. Let's see, this gold base is mining. Sharkbot is effectively cannon rushing the base of negativeZero. It's like, no, this is my base, dude. What the heck? So negativeZero's programming may go a little bit haywire, trying to deal with a 30-minute cannon rush. Some Phoenix are being worked on as they do commit to kill a Tempest, but that is big losses for Sharkbot. And all of a sudden, Sharkbot is completely out of cash. As I mean, it's spending money on cannons, probes, a new Nexus, Phoenix all over the place. negativeZero is incredibly broke itself, though. In fact, it's just long-distance mining at this point. So things have gotten much worse for the Red Protoss bot economically in the past couple minutes, where Sharkbot is still mining a tremendous amount. The Nexus is being worked on. negativeZero is trying to be a hero and save its Nexus, which isn't the most important base in the world, but I mean, I don't know. There's 2 mineral patches there with barely any resources left, but I guess every resource matters, so this base will be cleaned on up. Sharkbot is unpowered at these Stargates presently. It's still making 5 Phoenix at a time, though, and that is very big, where against a negativeZero that can't really afford to replace any of its units right now. Let's see. negativeZero now pushes down towards this base. There is a Soul Cannon and Battery trying to defend. The battery's dead. If negativeZero can say maybe kill off this base, potentially just start picking off units of Sharkbot so it gets into like a death spiral, that would be very good. However, things are looking much better for Sharkbot as time goes on. negativeZero, it's so darn broke. It's got just about 350 minerals in the bank. We'll see if it can afford a Nexus, maybe rebuild this one, although once again, it's very low on minerals, so it would actually be a travesty if it does spend 400 minerals on a Nexus there. negativeZero kills off Sharkbot's base here. It's now inside the main base of Sharkbot, working on the production. Sharkbot's blob kind of moves between its bases and all the threats, but it sometimes does get pulled around as a result, so it's not really responding to this threat inside the main base. So now some Phoenix are being kind of spawn camped. Tempest does deal with that, though, and so Sharkbot's main production is being compromised. We got Stalkers running to the north. I can't believe this game is 32 minutes long and still up in the air. negativeZero is wanting to push on in, however, it doesn't have the juice to attack this base. Attacking that base would be so important, as Sharkbot's blob is moving towards the Tempest, and if those Tempests die, it will be very unfortunate. negativeZero has decided to rebuild this base, unfortunately taking bases which are not exactly thriving. It's still pulling in a little bit of money, but yeah, we'll eventually run out of those resources. Sharkbot gonna lose its cyber core, losing some tech. Lots of its production is unpowered. However, Phoenix are chasing down 2 of the Tempest of negativeZero. If those units die, they shall not be replaced anytime soon. So Sharkbot responding to this is very important. At the same time, negativeZero is hitting this location down here. Disruptors, though, tossing out Novas, kill off some Stalkers. And so we'll see if this Nexus dies. Sharkbot still has this fortress up here. This location is being assaulted. The battery, though, is a big deal. The Stalker taking some damage, actually just going to die, as the other Stalkers, I'm not sure what they were doing there to help. negativeZero is losing most of its army. I think we may have a victor here, as the Red Protoss is just so darn broke. Sharkbot has done a good job just playing out its late game toss. This game was way better than the one I clicked on, though. Thank you to LaughNgamez for sending this one in. Yeah, what a match this has been. And if you are a bot author and you watch these games, consider sending in your replays, as that is just so helpful for these casts, having someone pre-screen the games. It's not something that I do, and I generally get lucky with the games that I do click on just randomly from the ladder. But matches like these are really phenomenal. And it's been a very close battle, but I do think Sharkbot has got this one at this point. A really enjoyable match. And yeah, I do wonder if negativeZero can potentially win some late game PvPs against Sharkbot. I'd be interested to know that stat, as Sharkbot definitely has the advantage, but it was reasonably close in this game. negativeZero was behind for like a solid 25 minutes, but it did give it its all. Unfortunately, it's running out of money, and Sharkbot just needs to go in for the killing blow. What does negativeZero have? 3 Immortals, which are now asleep. It seems to have kind of stopped microing its units, as negativeZero has seemingly lost the will to live. And I think it has actually given up. It's got 1,000 minerals in the bank, not building a Nexus, not building anything. 0 APM, I think negativeZero may have crashed out and just given up, which is interesting, but understandable, as I think it had lost at this point, but who knows. So that is a little bit unfortunate, but it does seem that Sharkbot will win this game. negativeZero, it's still long-distance mining out of a gas, but yeah, something has caused it to crash and get stuck at this point. I wonder what that was. Maybe it's these units or something being caught behind here. Sharkbot will move in to clean everything out, as it rightfully deserves, having played just another epic late game PvP. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this match, click that like button, leave a comment down below saying more bots, subscribe to the channel, and if you do want to support these almost 40-minute long casts, consider becoming a YouTube member. It definitely helps out a lot. And yeah, just a great game between these two. Different styles of bots. negativeZero was trying to overcome just Sharkbot's great late game design, but it was really cool to see the unit interactions. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. There's the replay desync.